So I want to begin by sharing that Biden-Harris administration is announcing a significant new security assistance package for Ukraine as the United States continues to support Ukraine's defense against Russia's invasion. This announcement is the 7th security assistance package that President Biden has authorized to help Ukraine since he signed the National Security Supplemental in April. It includes missiles for Ukraine's air defense systems, ammunition for high mobility artillery, rocket systems, artillery rounds, and other critical
Zelensky's trying to squeeze that as much. He's trying to squeeze the juice out of that as much as he can while he can. For Pick 45 comes back in there and goes, "No."
Defense will use to purchase interceptors for Patriot and NASAM air defense systems to help Ukraine defend its troops and its cities against Russia's aerial attacks.
Bro, just let him have the city. Who cares?
Support over the last few months has been critical in helping Ukraine defend their territory against Russia's advances. Thanks to the bravery of the Ukrainian forces and weapons deliveries from the United States and our allies and partners, it is increasingly clear the Russian offensive around Kharkiv has been a failure. And as President Biden has been clear, we are committed to continuing to stand with Ukraine until they prevail against Russian aggression. So I want to share a bit of additional
why is this
updates
always our
before,
job? That's what I don't understand. Why is it
we start?
always?
Some of you have been trying to confirm some of this information that I'm about to share, so I'll do it right now at the podium. The president has connected with Leader Jeffries, Senate Majority Leader Schumer, Representative Clyburn, former Speaker Pelosi, and Senator Coons.
Nancy!
Today, President Biden taped 2 Black radio interviews that will air tomorrow morning. One is with Earl Ingram on Civic Media Network, which airs across Wisconsin, and one with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD's The Source in Philadelphia. And as Governor Walz of Minnesota announced today, the president will meet with more than 20 Democratic governors. Now, as you know, these governors are some of our closest partners when it comes to creating jobs, building new roads, and building bridges, and so much more. And so the president certainly looks forward to meeting with them. And with that, I am happy to take your questions.
Here we go.
Last night at the fundraiser, the president blamed jet lag for his debate performance.
She's in her head. She's like, "Ah, this bitch."
Well over a week. So, does he really need more than a week and a half to recover from traveling in Europe? And did he really? Is that really what he thinks caused his poor debate performance?
So, yeah, just a couple of things.
What she really wants to say, well, bitch, we all know he has dementia, but at this point, it's going to be too embarrassing to turn this ship around because we've gone too deep, and once you start lying, it's hard to get out of a lie. So we're going to have to ride this one out until we absolutely can't anymore. So fuck you for answering that question, and on to the next one, please. But what I'm going to say is, well, you know, the president is under a lot of stress. And the president, I'm with the president every day, and he's making crucial decisions constantly. And just because he has one bad night will not affect the rest of his presidency. Watch.
Appreciate the question because you know the president has certainly spoken to this many times about the debate, and so he had an opportunity to do that in front of supporters, and as you just stated, he did that. He talked about, he owned that the debate was not his best night, and he said himself it's not an excuse, but it's an explanation. I was standing here yesterday, and many people were asking why and what's the explanation, and that's what you heard from him. Look. The two, I think, in addition to the 2 major trips, he was also continued to do his presidential duties.
And he's 90 years old.
He also prepared for the debate. And on top of that, there was obviously the jet lag, as you just asked about, and also he had a cold. And you all heard directly, you heard from him during the debate. He had a hoarse voice. Many of you reached out to me and my team and some other members of the White House asking what was going on.
Look, bro, if they're lying to you this hard about his condition now, think about what else they've been lying to you about, okay? He doesn't take a genius. Do you feel gaslit yet? We use this term like gaslighting, right? All the white women like to throw the term gaslighting around. Well, guess what? You're being gaslit.
Had a cold, and so I think those 2 things, continuing obviously to do his duties as commander-in-chief, as the president, and so I think some of you here in this room can certainly relate to, you know, what could happen when you're having an important moment and you're not feeling well, and also you wish you could have done better. And so he took ownership. I think that's important. And he's going to continue to make a strong case for his agenda, and that's what you're going to see. And he was given an explanation, and that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to get that out there and for people to hear directly from him, as he has been doing since Friday of last week.
It just seems like I know you're calling it an explanation, not an excuse, but it does seem like there are new excuses since the debate of what went wrong there.
I would say I don't think it's a new excuse. I think some of your colleagues reached out to us about the schedule. Some of your colleagues asked if the schedule was too strenuous or was it.
They gave him every single circumstance. There was no audience. It was completely moderated. Trump had a button. Like they made it completely everything in his favor, and he still shit the bed
because of the jet lag. And so we are laying out and explaining exactly what happened. You heard from the president. You've heard from me, and it was indeed a schedule where the president traveled 6 time zones forward to G7 in Italy, 9 time zones back to
oh my
LA, and
God,
3 time zones forward again to DC. That's something that one of the
they really sat there. They're like, oh, you know what? Talk about 8 time zones. Talk about 8 time zones to make people think, oh well, good thing he didn't only cross 4 time zones. He crossed 8 time zones.
The print pooler on that day.
It doesn't matter. A flight is however many hours. Doesn't matter how many time zones you're crossing, dude.
Laid out for all of you. And
if he can't get up there and talk to Donald Trump, how's he going to go out and argue and discuss things against Putin and Kim Jong-un and all these? If he has one bad night at a debate, imagine if he goes and has one bad night at the negotiation table when it comes to World War III, dude. No. Next.
And those who read the pool notes, and on top of that, he did have a cold. So it is an.
On top of that, he did have a
cold. I don't think it is an addition. I don't think it's. We certainly don't want to explain this away. But you all asked me for an explanation yesterday. The president gave that directly yesterday to his supporters. He wanted to make sure, knowing that
he doesn't have supporters. He only has people that hate Trump.
His supporters last night. Sure.
You mentioned all the calls that he has made in your topper. Why wasn't he doing that on Friday? And why wasn't he doing this sort of damage control? Why was he waiting to do that until middle of this week?
I mean, look,
because he was hungover from all the drugs he got on debate night.
One of your colleagues yesterday, and look, the president obviously right after the debate, he visited 4 states in 2.5 days, gave a couple of remarks. He met with supporters, whether at the Waffle House or in Atlanta at a watch party, or in North Carolina where there were hundreds of supporters there.
Yeah, the only place smart enough to still vote for his dumbass, the Waffle House.
Dealing with his schedule, and also speaking directly and engaging with his supporters, and then spend time with his family. I think what's important is that he has done this outreach. He's having these conversations. It is important to him to do so. And the folks that I laid out that he spoke to or some of them have been his colleagues. Some of them have been elected officials that he's known for some time. Obviously, Leader Jeffries is a new relationship that he has, someone that he obviously respects, and so it is. I think it's important to note that they were strong conversations. That's something that the president told me and my team directly moments ago. He was walking around, and we happened to see the president, and he said they were strong conversations.
Yeah, I bet the president was just wandering around.
The vice president's great, and they are ready to continue working on behalf of the American people. Okay, so.
Please fuck off for the behalf of American people.
Is President Biden considering
dying?
Stepping down?
Absolutely not. And you heard, I believe, directly from the campaign as well.
Given the groundswell of concern from...
Aren't these the people like, oh, we need to save democracy? And like literally the whole democracy is saying, Biden, please go away. And he's like, no, we won't go away.
Fellow Democrats, from donors, from supporters.
Unreal.
Doesn't he owe it to the American public to reflect on whether he should step down?
I mean, look, it very much into Sung-Min's question and my answer to her question, where he had an opportunity to talk to supporters. He's done it a couple times at this point and laid out what happened on that night. Talked about how he understands, and it was not his best night. He understands that it is fair for people to ask that question. But we cannot forget his record and what he's been.
Has Biden ever done one of these briefings? I've never seen, like, Trump would be down there all the time. Biden briefing. What's that called? Yeah, why is Biden never in the briefing room? Trump was always in the briefing room. Right? Am I tripping? Trump briefing room. See, look, Trump stayed in that bit. Dude, you can't find a single video of Biden gives briefing room speech. There's not a single video. Crazy, bro.
Been able to do.
Like, Biden should be in here explaining himself, not her.
We cannot forget how he has been able to deliver for the American people for almost 4 years. That matters too. And
What has he delivered?
The most historic record administration, the most in modern politics, and that should matter. And he wants to continue to do that work.
Oh, the
And,
gaslighting.
you know, a lot of what's on his agenda is very much popular with majority of the American people.
It's crazy how she can just
Continuing to build
lie through her
a
teeth, you know?
stronger economic policies. He's done that. Creating new jobs. He's done that. 15 million jobs. He wants to work on that and continue to do that.
Imagine doing this
And
day
so
in and
he
day
wants
out.
to continue to deliver, expanding healthcare. All of these things he believes is important. Majority of Americans believe it's important. And his record, he wants to make sure that people do not forget about the record that he's been able to lay on behalf of the American people.
Dude, it's not like he remembers
Is there
it.
anything, Karine, that would change his mind?
Look, I cannot lay out something that would change the president's mind. He has been very clear, and he's going to continue to build on the unprecedented record that he's been able to lay out for the American people. That's his focus right now.
Thank you, Karine. What does the president do outside the hours of 10 a.m.?
Dude, she's gonna have like tumors in her
Well,
neck
you
from.
heard him speak to supporters yesterday outside of 4 p.m. You saw the president land in North Carolina.
This is the hardest job in the world right here, having to defend Biden, dude. Having to defend this administration day in and day out. It's gotta be crazy.
In the middle of the night at 2 o'clock. What was he doing? He was greeting supporters, hundreds of supporters that showed up to cheer him on after the debate. You saw him speaking at 9 o'clock or at night in New York in front of supporters. So he's been pretty much out there after the hours of 4 p.m. and before 10 a.m. for sure. And so that has been something he has consistently done over the past couple of days for sure, for certain.
Have an afternoon nap every day.
Let me be very clear about this. This is a president that wakes up every morning and puts the American people first.
Oh my God,
He does
dude.
that every single day. That is his focus.
And then he takes a nap.
I am not going to speak to sources out there, unnamed sources out there. That's not what I'm going to speak to. I'm going to speak to what I know, what this president does, and how he is committed to the work.
And why wouldn't he take a nap,
of the Commander in
dude?
Chief.
He's a dinosaur.
And his record clearly
Let him take a nap.
lays that out.
Just
and
don't have him
speaks
be
to
the
it.
president.
And that's what he's going to continue to do. The American people first, and deliver it.
You didn't answer the question.
Also clarify Sunman's question.
Sure.
I mean, how is it that the president was still tired 12 days after returning from Europe, had a cold, but then went to the Waffle House, and then the
following day staged such a huge comeback that he gave those North Carolina remarks. Like, help us understand.
Have you had a cold before?
Of course I've had a
Okay,
cold before.
so
but
you
we-
probably, well, come on, Jackie.
It just only happens when all the
Hey,
cameras are.
he returned though,
But
and he
you
blamed
also-
jet lag yesterday.
Hold on a second. There's a cold, there's a jet lag. You combine that. He continues to work on for the American
Dude, this
people,
is
day in
cringy.
and day out, around the clock. Things happen. Things happen. And the cold thing is something that you all pointed out during his debate. We didn't even point that out. You all pointed out when you heard his voice being hoarse. Because he knew he had to push through. He knew he has to power through. That's what presidents do. If you care about this country and you don't care about yourself, you care about the American people, you care about the
Yeah,
leaders
you should
for this
probably
country, you care about
step
how you're
down
going
when
to
they
continue
all
to
want
work
you to
every
get
day
out of the
in and
way.
out. You push through. We've all
The reason I
do
ask is
that.
Because all these Democrats
We've
who are
all
saying
do
they want
that.
to see him,
But
It
okay,
speaks to that.
But we didn't share that information ahead of time. You all asked what was going on, and then we shared that information. We didn't use that before the debate. You all asked, "Hey, is he under the weather?" And we confirmed that he was under the weather. He pushed through.
Bro, this
That's
is
what this president does.
insane.
He's going to continue to fight for the American people. So he pushed through it. I think anybody who does that, not just the president, should be commended. And he also said, you heard him say this on Friday, when you get knocked down, you get back up. That's what you saw.
is there any discussion that if the president were to suspend his campaign, that he would also resign? Are there any discussions
no,
about the
absolutely
vice
not.
president assuming his duties?
Absolutely not. Go ahead, Kelly.
Does the president have a duty to review data, like polling information that's coming in, donor information, the fears and concerns or anxieties expressed by Democrats? Does he have a duty to review what's happening now?
When you say a duty, can you say more about the
You're
duty
saying
piece?
that he's absolutely running.
Yeah. Well, he's saying that, and I'm sharing with you his view.
And we would invite the president to come here and tell us
Noted.
that directly.
Noted, Kelly.
But he won't do that.
But,
He's awake.
If he's awake, oh.
As you heard from your colleague, the president of the WHCA, that's inappropriate. Thank you, Kelly.
My question is, information is
That
coming
was
in.
savage.
Assessment is happening within the party. Does he have a duty to review that? Has he closed the door on reviewing the data?
So I'm going to be really mindful, because obviously you're asking me about campaign numbers and data that's coming in. And
We know the numbers, lady.
what I will note is that this is a president that looks at everything, takes in all the information. It's important to him to do so. I don't want to get into hypotheticals here. That's not what.
That's
I'm
not a
here to do.
hypothetical. She's asking
What
if
I
he
can
should
say
be
is,
looking at
in
the
this
numbers about how
moment,
nobody
we
wants
move
him.
forward on building on this unprecedented record that the president has been able to lay out.
She's
for
like a
the American
wind-up
people,
doll, like a
and that's
string in
gonna
her
be our
back.
focus. I don't want to get into hypotheticals. I don't want to get ahead into anything else.
Sound like closing the door to reviewing this over a period of time.
What I
prior to
can
the
say
convention.
is the president is moving forward. He's moving forward as being president. He's moving forward with his campaign, as his campaign has been very.
And now he's
going
gonna tell you all to fuck yourselves and take a nap.
That's what I can speak to, and that's what I can say, and that is the president's focus. The president's focus is how does he continue to do that work, and anything else that we're hearing or that's being reported is absolutely false.
Is the president telling people
Wrong.
he's evaluating the
Absolutely
race?
false. That is absolutely false. I saw that reporting. We were not given enough time to get back to that reporting, just a couple of minutes, and we asked the president. The president responded directly when asked about this question, because we said that we would. And the
Not gonna
president
lie,
said,
I've never seen a
"No, it is
dress
absolutely
vest.
false."
I need one
That's
of those.
coming directly from him.
What steps would the president be taking, or would you as a team plan to try to prevent another episode in public that would be deemed worrisome?
I would not call it an episode. I
Basically,
would
what they're
call
doing
it
now is
we
keeping
had
him
a-
away from the mic.
A bad night, right? It was not his best night. He had a cold, he was jet lagged. You heard directly from the president about this. And when we get knocked down, when he gets knocked down, he gets right back up. And that's what
After
I
his
would-
nap.
That's what I would focus on. The president continuing to be very steady and continuing to work on for the American people.
But just to follow up on Kelly's question, do you think the president feels like the coming days are very critical for him as he, you laid out all these events that he's going to be doing?
Yeah.
Are these events very important for him to show?
President has no idea what's coming up.
has the ability to be the nominee?
I would say that this moment is critical, regardless of the debate or not. We are living in an important moment right now. Everything is at stake. And I got to be mindful because this is all connected to what's happening in November. And I think any leader would say they always have to prove to themselves to their constituents, right? It is a day in and day out work. And yes, the president's going to have engagement. He's going to be out there speaking to the American people. Obviously, we mentioned Wisconsin. He's going to do an interview in Wisconsin as well. We talked about Pennsylvania. But the president was also out last week. Atlanta, North Carolina, New York, where he saw supporters. This is a president that has been consistently
where he
out
got
there
lost and
talking
walked away from that
directly to the American
skydiver?
people. He understands, as you all asked me about the economy and what people are feeling, he understands that they have to hear directly from him, and he has to continue to do that so that he can lay out his agenda. He can lay out what he wants to continue to do. It's always going to be part of the calculation, right? To continue to prove to the American people that he can continue to do the work and deliver deliver on behalf of the American people.
And Jeff had the staff meeting
Yeah.
today. Can you just give us a rundown of really what he tried to get across? And is there a morale issue in the White House right now?
It's a fair question, and I do have a couple of things I want to say. As you just said, the Chief of Staff, Jeff Zients, did have an all-staff call. He wanted to gather the team across the building and acknowledge what the president said himself, right? That the last few days have been challenging.
People expressing shock, so why not release more information?
This president directly has owned up to what happened at the debate.
I just skipped 20 minutes. They're still talking about it. They still just talking about the debate this whole time.
Monday night, he wasn't supposed to speak. He came back.
Oh my God.
He felt so strongly about the decision from the Supreme Court that he came back early and wanted to speak directly to the American people, and that's what he did.
Yeah, and he did a terrible job. Wow.